There are more people online than in the room. But Victor is in the other room, so that's bad choice to have this track here. Yeah. So anyway, let's start. It's recorded, and I'm here on behalf of Christine Baumgartner. She unfortunately didn't made it to the conference, and I took over her talk. So it's not I'm not that deep into this like she would be. It's Christina, and I'm on behalf of her here, and yeah. So I will talk about a guideline for a blended remote internship, which we made in our ITONBOARD project, and it's about onboarding in remote working companies. Christina always has a philosophy to support the open source culture and community, and also is a member of the Plone Foundation. What is it about? We have Plone community, as also in other open source communities. It's about how we can get more women and girls excited. Like in whole IT, we have like 10 to 15%, sometimes 20% women in IT, and the question is also how we can attract young people in general to get into IT business. And this came up several years ago, and again and again. And we interns to this world of remote work. Customers, you are more project or more process oriented, and you really have to adapt. But there are some common points, and you can use it as an inspiration for remote working, and yeah, and you need then find your own process. And also, as for employees, the same is valid for interns. There are people, not machines. It's more like only about the outcome, about the process. But I think it gets more and more important to get work-life balance, to have people really be happy in your company, and especially in IT, where we have this gap of people we need and people there on the market, on the job market. It's more important to really look at your employers. We had support from a professor at the University of Innsbruck, Bernd Gössling, who is expert in this educational area and onboarding. And according to internships, he said that an internship is a huge opportunity for young people to find their own way in the career orientation process and advanced career aspirations. So that means that if you get an intern, you invest in a person in a way that you might not get much back, but you will get something back because you get feedback. And you may have another workforce in future, but that's not the most important part. And for the students or for the young people, it's more about finding themselves in this career orientation process, because there are different kinds of internships. Come later to this. And for this career orientation, primarily it's like who I actually am, what I want to do, what might give the orientation, and also what somebody likes or not likes. The earlier it's better for you. If you later the employers, you get know that that's the job is they want to do, and even that's a whole new thinking process. You start with career orientation, and that's very important. Because sometimes before, young people didn't really start thinking about what to do in their future. Some do, but most young people start at some point, like after school goes to end, what do next, and then start thinking about it. And dependent on the education system, there are different ways in different countries how to tackle this. But if you get an intern in your company, then it's very important that you don't make up something for the interns, but integrate them in the true process and reality of work in your company. So it have to be authentic and have to be what you usually do. If you work remotely, then you work remotely with your interns and don't get them in your office where it's just one person and the other 12 are somewhere else. Or you can blend this by having them for a week and then letting them work remote for a week, something like that. Really depends on. The idea is that the intern discover this new profession by doing close to what he will do or she will do later. And this process is difficult because especially in IT, you have very specialized work, right? So programming is not something that you just start and do, but you can pair the interns with other employees or something like that, and try to get them an insight into your company, to your culture of the company, and yeah, that's very important. And you need to really make this culture part of your management decision, of your management work. And we found that after the interviews with two companies out of the Plone, one company is Plone community, is this lab from Munich, and other company is Niteo Web from Slovenia, which has somehow some origins in the Plone community, but is not doing Plone these days. We found that can define a kind of a model of this blended remote work, where you have work in kind of cycles, Scrum-like, or maybe directly Scrum-like, Kanban, or define your own process. But it's more about, it's here in a Scrum scenario, you start with planning and have regular meetings where everybody has to participate. And this is how this can look like. Like here, this model we created is a process where you start your development in 14-day cycles. The results of the previous 14 days are always also important and are discussed at the beginning. Then the planning for the next 14 days is done. And then there are geofixes like stand-up meetings, short meetings, using online conferencing tools. And in addition, you have tools like GitLab or GitHub or Slack or Discord, what you choose to have ad hoc contacts, or Jitsi, for instance, and can exchange with your co-workers. And the idea is that this is it's the meeting. Also, you have meetings. The idea is that not only between the co-workers are meetings, but that also the managers meet with the employees to get the mood of the employees. That's it. And the boss, the senior partners, or even the middle management has to really make this part of the process to actively talk to the employees and to get this working and get this up and know the mood and get into it if there are problems. Then we found that there's always a problem between front-end and back-end developers because they speak different languages, and web or something where you have front-end or web developers or designers in this way, and technical ones, they speak different language, have different time spans, they work. And some more, you can have technical presentations like lightning talks every week for an hour, so everyone can present what they found, and all the stuff that usually in a company would happen between the chairs, between the tables, people speak together. You have to encourage to really have in your plan that the people do this. That won't happen out of nothing. You really have to think about and so on. And you need really to get this also then actively, let's say, speak to the. That's about this internship thing. And what I said, you have to integrate them into the real communication process of your remote work. And this needs an intern, maybe young people are used to work or never had a job before, that can get difficult, and you need to keep up the communication actively. That's probably a bit more work, but some interns are very, communicate on their own then, and then it works. It really depends on the person, but that's the same if you get an intern in your company. Yeah, that's what Paul told us, Paul Roland. He organized the Google Summer of Code. And has some, gave us some of his after high school, already know something, learn something. Maybe even they have some knowledge about graphics, about computers and so on, and you can really let them do some more real work as you do in your company. Or dual education for learning programming skills and so on, and your usual high school stuff. And you need to do this, and then you have to be paid also, like half the usual salary. And that's very different, because with this kind of interns you really can work. They really have experience, and the same is valid for universities or universities of applied sciences. They also have this in mandatory or compulsory internships. Yeah. And that's also the next difference, compulsory or voluntary internships. Do they want to do the internships on their own, or need to do the internships for some reason? That's also an important differentiation. Yeah, and that's what sets the rules. Is this an internship that's only for career orientation, or has interpretive knowledge? You really have to look at this. Also, if you decide to get interns, what kind of intern matches you with some. If you have a small company, you may want more compulsory. And if you're a bigger company, you can just pass around interns that does career orientation. Then whether it's paid or not, because if they need to be paid, then you need to think about integrating in your process. At least after some weeks, like we have had paid interns for half a year. So after 1 month, they were really productive and really worked with us in the company. Or we had interns that were just with paid for 2 months, and then it takes like 3 weeks to get them into it, and then you need to really think about how can I get something out of it. And also if they need a certificate afterwards or not, but usually as a company you can just write certificate of participation. So, yeah, and that is, since this is an EU project, it's difficult to unify here something, because we have 27 different training systems in the European Union, and can be roughly differentiated into 4 groups. And there's this credit point system. Then we have the same thing with learning units without this credit point systems, and then this dual training stuff we have in, like I told, in Austria, we have this, in Germany is this, and then we have countries where this is all not present, where we don't have this kind of learning units at school. And so, depending on the country you are in, and this is an international conference. We are an international project with European Union project here. That's also difficult in the guideline to really you only can give hints, but for your country it needs to be figured out then. But whatever the conditions are, and that's the main takeaway here, the main focus of an internship it should always be to integrate the interns into the reality of the company, whatever you do. And I think that's really the main takeaway. You should integrate the interns in the reality of work, the reality of what you're doing, not make up something. Yeah, that's my takeover of Christina's talk. She would probably, she could tell us much more about it because she worked on the guideline and talked to all the great people and interviewed them and so on and get all this scientific background, but that's what I have. You have a beta online, and there's also a feedback form, and if you watch online, just try it out, all in the room, please do it, and thank you very much so far. Any questions here? No? Okay, great.